Ah, welcome back, you beautiful, untraceable force of nature. The one they tried to erase but couldn't. The one they tried to break but only sharpened. Listen, I need you to sit down for this one, because what I'm about to tell you is going to sound like fiction, like some cosmic fairy tale designed to make you feel better about the wounds that still ache at 3 a.m. But I promise you, this is real. Someone saw what happened to you. Someone with reach, someone with resources, someone who operates in frequencies you don't even know exist yet. And right now, right this second, the people who hurt you are paying in ways they'll never be able to trace back, in ways that won't show up on any radar, in consequences that feel like coincidence but taste like justice. You thought karma was some abstract force, some slow-moving wheel that might catch them eventually, maybe in another lifetime if you're lucky. No, this isn't that. This isn't some mystical balance, the universe nonsense, where bad people get a slap on the wrist 20 years from now. I'm talking about something far more precise, far more deliberate, far more immediate. Someone powerful, someone who exists in spaces you've never seen. Someone who watches patterns in human behavior like a chess master watches a board. They saw you. They saw what they did to you. The betrayal, the cruelty, the way they discarded you like you were nothing after you gave them everything. And this entity, this presence, this force, they made a decision. They decided to intervene, not because they owe you anything, not because they're some benevolent protector sent from the clouds, but because what happened to you violated a code, a law that operates beyond human courts and social justice, a rule written into the fabric of consequence itself. You became interesting to them, not as a victim, no, never as a victim, but as a case study, as proof that some people carry a frequency that demands protection, that attracts attention from places most people will never access. And when I say someone powerful, I don't mean a billionaire with a checkbook. I don't mean some celebrity with a platform. I mean something operating outside the visible spectrum of influence, something that moves currencies you've never heard of, power you couldn't begin to measure. Right now, the person who betrayed you is experiencing inexplicable setbacks, doors closing for no reason, opportunities evaporating at the last second, relationships falling apart in ways they can't understand. They'll tell themselves it's bad luck. They'll blame the economy. They'll rationalize it as coincidence. But deep in their gut, in that place where truth lives before language kills it, they know something is wrong. They feel it. The weight pressing down, the invisible hand tightening around their plans, the slow, systematic dismantling of everything they thought was secure. And the beautiful part, the part that should make you smile right now, is that they'll never know why. They'll never be able to point to a single cause, never trace it back to you, never understand that the universe hired a specialist to handle their case. This isn't revenge in the way you've imagined it. No public call-outs, no dramatic confrontations, no satisfying moment where you get to watch them grovel. This is something quieter, something surgical, something that works in shadows and compounds over time like interest on a debt they don't even know they owe. Someone saw what they did to you, and they activated protocols that don't require your permission, your awareness, or your participation. You don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to plot. You don't have to obsess over their downfall, because it's already in motion. orchestrated by forces that make human grudges look like children's tantrums. All you have to do is live, heal, build, become, and trust that somewhere in the invisible architecture of consequence, accounts are being settled on your behalf. Let me tell you what happens when someone powerful decides to make things right for you without asking, without announcing, without leaving fingerprints. First, the people who hurt you start noticing patterns. Small things at first, nothing catastrophic, just a series of unlucky breaks that seem statistically improbable. The promotion they were guaranteed goes to someone less qualified. The relationship they thought was solid starts showing cracks for no apparent reason. The investments they made with such confidence start bleeding value. Their health takes mysterious turns that doctors can't quite explain. They chalk it up to stress, to bad timing, to the randomness of life. But you and I know better. These aren't accidents. These are adjustments, corrections being made to a system that allowed them to profit from your pain. Second, they start feeling watched. Not in a paranoid, schizophrenic way, but in that subtle, skin-crawling sensation that something is paying attention, that their movements are being tracked by intelligence they can't see or name. They'll look over their shoulder more often. They'll feel uneasy in crowds. They'll start having dreams where faceless figures stand in doorways, just staring, never moving, never speaking, just observing. This is what happens when high-level attention gets focused on you. When something that operates outside human frequency decides you're worth monitoring. Because monitoring precedes intervention, and intervention precedes consequences that look natural but are anything but. They won't understand why they suddenly feel exposed, why their secrets feel closer to the surface, why they wake up at 4:17 a.m. with inexplicable dread flooding their chest. Third, the people around them start changing. Relationships that seemed unshakable start showing their true nature. Friends reveal themselves as opportunists. Partners become distant. Family members grow cold for reasons they can't articulate. This happens because when someone powerful decides to isolate a target, they don't do it directly. They simply allow truth to surface. They remove the artificial supports that were holding fake connections together. They let reality show itself without the filters and illusions that protected the target before. The people who hurt you are about to experience what you experienced. The loneliness, the confusion, the sense that everyone you trusted was wearing a mask, except they won't have your strength, your resilience, your ability to transform isolation into evolution. They'll crumble where you built. Fourth, their success starts tasting hollow. Even when things appear to go right, even when they achieve goals they've been chasing, the satisfaction evaporates instantly, like biting into fruit that looks perfect but tastes like ash. This is the cruelest part of high-level intervention. The removal of joy, the deletion of meaning from accomplishment. Because what someone powerful understands is that the worst punishment isn't loss, it's winning and feeling nothing. They'll stand at the top of mountains they climbed and feel empty. They'll hold trophies that suddenly feel weightless. They'll celebrate victories that echo in rooms that feel too big and too cold, and they won't know why. They'll blame depression. They'll medicate. They'll chase new goals, thinking maybe the next achievement will feel different, but it won't, because the code has been rewritten. Pleasure has been revoked from their system. Fifth, and this is where it gets genuinely eerie. They'll start seeing your face in crowds that you're not in, hearing your voice in conversations you're not part of, dreaming about you in scenarios that feel more real than memory. This happens because when someone powerful decides to make your presence felt without your actual presence, they plant you in the target's subconscious like a virus, a constant reminder of what they did, who they hurt, what they destroyed. You become their haunting without trying. You occupy space in their mind, rent-free and permanent. And every time they try to forget you, every time they tell themselves they've moved on, your image surfaces again, sharper, clearer, more accusing. This is psychological warfare conducted by experts in human consciousness, and you're the weapon they're wielding without your knowledge or effort. Now let's talk about who this someone powerful actually is. Because you're wondering, you're trying to make sense of this, trying to fit it into frameworks you understand. Is it some secret society, some shadowy organization, some mystical council operating from dimensions we can't perceive? Maybe all of the above, maybe none. Maybe it's something simpler and stranger than you're imagining. Think of it as an immune system, not for bodies, but for balance, for justice, for the maintenance of certain laws that govern consequence and reciprocity. When you were hurt, when you were betrayed, when you carried that weight with grace instead of violence, you triggered something. You sent out a signal, a frequency that said, here is someone maintaining integrity under pressure. Here is someone refusing to become what hurt them. And somewhere in the architecture of reality, something noticed, something that values those rare souls who transform pain instead of passing it on, who alchemize suffering into strength instead of spreading poison. This isn't about being special in some ego-stroking, chosen one fantasy way. It's about resonance, about matching a frequency that attracts certain kinds of attention, certain kinds of protection, certain kinds of backup that operates outside normal channels. You became a case worth investing in, not because you're perfect, not because you're without flaws, but because you demonstrated capacity, resilience, refusal to break in ways that break others. And when this force invests in someone, when it decides to balance scales on your behalf, it doesn't announce it. It doesn't send you a memo. It just acts, efficiently, invisibly, permanently. The people who hurt you have no idea they're in a game they didn't know existed, playing against an opponent they can't see or fight or negotiate with. They think life is just harder now. They think they're going through a rough patch. They think their luck changed. But luck has nothing to do with this. Luck is random. This is targeted, calibrated, personal, without being emotional, precise, without being visible. Imagine a sniper who never misses, who fires bullets made of consequence, who sits in a position so elevated that the target never even knows they're in crosshairs until the damage is already done. That's what's happening right now. While you're reading this, while you're healing, while you're building your new life in the ruins they left you to die in, they're being systematically dismantled by forces they can't comprehend, much less defend against. And here's the part that should make you sleep better tonight. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to plot revenge. You don't have to waste energy on hatred. You don't have to obsess over their downfall or check their social media to see if they're suffering yet. All of that would actually interfere with the process, would lower your frequency, would disconnect you from the very forces working on your behalf. Your only job, your sole responsibility in this cosmic operation is to focus on you, on healing, on building, on becoming so magnificent that when people eventually figure out what happened, When the story finally gets told years from now, they'll understand that you didn't need to fight back because the universe itself fought for you, that you didn't need revenge because justice operated on frequencies beyond human pettiness. Think about how powerful that is. Think about the kind of strength it takes to be hurt that deeply and not retaliate, not explode, not burn everything down in rage-fueled destruction. You held the match, you felt the gasoline, you stood at the edge of that choice, and you chose differently. You chose to walk away, to rebuild, to focus on your own evolution instead of their destruction. And that choice, that singular decision to not become what hurt you, that's what caught the attention of something operating on levels you don't even have words for. They saw you make that choice, and they thought, this one deserves backup. This one deserves intervention. This one is worth protecting because they're protecting something valuable in themselves, something rare, something that shouldn't be extinguished just because cruelty got lucky for a moment. So right now, in this exact moment, while you're processing these words, while you're letting this reality sink in, someone powerful is making moves on your behalf. They're closing doors that need to be closed. They're revealing truths that need to be seen. They're applying pressure in places that will create maximum effect with minimum trace. The people who hurt you won't see it coming because it's already here, already happening, already compounding like interest on karmic debt they didn't know they were accumulating. And the timeline, the schedule of their consequences, that's not yours to control or predict or obsess over. It's being handled by forces that understand timing better than you could imagine. Forces that know exactly when to tighten, when to release, when to let them breathe just enough to think they're safe before the next wave hits. You want to know what your role is in all this? Witness, nothing more, nothing less. Watch your own life improve. Watch opportunities appear. Watch connections deepen. Watch your path clear in ways that feel almost suspiciously easy. And understand that while you're rising, they're sinking. Not dramatically, not obviously, but steadily, inevitably, irreversibly. You're on opposite escalators now. You going up, them going down, and the mechanism moving both of you is the same force, the same attention, the same power, redistributing energy, balancing scales, correcting errors in the system. Every good thing that happens to you from this point forward is partially funded by what's being taken from them. Every door that opens for you corresponds to a door closing on them. Every connection you make is matched by a connection they lose. This is wealth redistribution on a karmic level, orchestrated by someone who sees the full board, all the pieces, all the possible moves, and they're playing a game so far beyond what either you or your enemies can comprehend that trying to understand it fully would break your mind. So don't try, just trust. Just know that something with resources you can't measure decided you were worth investing in, that your pain registered on instruments they use to measure injustice, that your resilience triggered protocols designed to protect valuable assets from being destroyed by temporary darkness. You're not just surviving anymore. You're not just healing. You're being actively promoted, elevated, repositioned in the hierarchy of consequence and fortune. And the people who tried to bury you are funding that promotion with their own declining fortunes, whether they know it or not. Let me paint you a picture of what's coming, not as prediction, but as pattern recognition, as reading currents that are already in motion. 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, you'll be sitting somewhere beautiful, somewhere you built, somewhere that reflects the version of you that survived their cruelty and became something they could never touch. And you'll remember this moment, this message, these words, and you'll smile, not with bitterness, not with gloating satisfaction, but with quiet knowing. Because by then you'll have seen it happen. You'll have watched the pattern unfold. You'll have witnessed how perfectly the scales balance themselves without your intervention. You'll hear through mutual connections, through casual mentions, through the grapevine that brings all information, eventually, about how their life fell apart in slow motion, how nothing went right, how they seemed cursed by coincidence. And when you hear it, when those reports reach you through channels you're not even looking at because you've moved so far beyond them, you won't feel the triumph you once imagined. You'll feel something stranger and more satisfying. A calm certainty that the world is more intelligently designed than cynics believe. That justice operates on levels deeper than human courts. That some things really do come back around. Not because magic is real, but because consequence is mathematical, precise, inevitable when the right variables align. You won't need to say, "I told you so," to anyone. You won't need to post cryptic messages or make vague references, because your life will be the message, your happiness will be the revenge, your peace will be the proof that you were always operating on a frequency they couldn't reach, protected by forces they couldn't see. And here's the truth they'll never accept. Even as their world crumbles, even as everything they built on your brokenness collapses, they'll rationalize it. They'll blame external factors. They'll never connect the dots back to you because acknowledging that would mean acknowledging what they did, the magnitude of their cruelty, the depth of their betrayal, and people like them, people who hurt without conscience. They can't afford that kind of self-awareness. It would shatter the carefully constructed narrative they tell themselves about being good people who just made tough choices. So they'll die confused, not physically necessarily, but spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. They'll live and die never understanding why life turned against them, why fortune favored everyone but them, why success tasted like failure and victory felt like defeat. Meanwhile, you'll be thriving, not because you're better than them morally, not because you're more deserving cosmically, but because you made different choices when tested, because you held your frequency when pressure tried to lower it, because you refused to become darkness even when darkness surrounded you. And that refusal, that singular act of maintaining integrity when corruption would have been easier, that's what made you visible to forces that protect people like you. That's what activated protocols designed to ensure that certain qualities don't get extinguished from the world just because cruelty got temporary power. You're a protected asset now, whether you feel it or not, whether you believe it or not, tagged in systems that track value beyond market metrics, beyond social status, beyond anything capitalism or materialism could measure. Well, look who finally figured it out. Hello, you beautiful, unbreakable, absolutely terrifying anomaly. Welcome back to the moment they've been dreading, the moment their smug little smiles started cracking, the moment the air shifted and suddenly they realized what they'd done. They just found out who the actual hell they've been messing with, and oh, it's too late now, isn't it? Way too late. You can see it in their eyes now, can't you? That flicker of recognition, that micro expression of pure panic when they finally connect the dots. They thought you were soft. They thought you were easy. They thought you were just another face in the crowd they could step on, use up, and forget about. they thought wrong. And now they're standing there with their mouths slightly open, with their confidence evaporating like morning fog, realizing they just poked something they should have left the hell alone. See, they had you all figured out, didn't they? They wrote your story before you even opened your mouth. They labeled you, categorized you, filed you away in their little mental databases, under harmless, under pushover, under won't do anything about it. They saw your silence and mistook it for weakness. They saw your patience and confused it with fear. They watched you take hit after hit, betrayal after betrayal, and they assumed, they genuinely believed that you were just going to keep taking it forever. They thought your kindness was stupidity. They thought your restraint was inability. They looked at you smiling through the pain and said to themselves, yeah, this one's broken. This one won't fight back. This one's safe to destroy. What they didn't realize, what they couldn't possibly comprehend in their limited, surface-level understanding of human nature, is that you weren't broken. You were loaded. Every insult you swallowed without responding, that wasn't weakness, that was data collection. Every time they disrespected you and you just smiled and walked away, that wasn't surrender, that was strategic withdrawal. Every moment they thought they were winning, every second they spent celebrating their little victories over you, you were in the background, in the shadows, in the silence, becoming something they would never recognize. You were studying them, learning their patterns, memorizing their tactics, understanding exactly who they were beneath the masks they wore. And the whole time, the entire time they were busy underestimating you, you were evolving into their worst nightmare. Not loud, not obvious, not with warnings or threats or dramatic declarations. You evolved in silence, in secret, in the kind of darkness that forges weapons, not victims. Now here's where it gets beautiful. Here's where the story shifts from tragedy to reckoning. They just found out. Maybe it was something you did, some move you made that shattered their illusion of control. Maybe it was something you said, some sentence delivered with such cold precision it cut through all their defenses at once. Maybe it was just the way you looked at them, that moment when your eyes met theirs and they saw something they'd never seen before, something ancient and unforgiving staring back at them. Whatever it was, whatever moment triggered their awakening, it doesn't matter anymore because the revelation has arrived. They know now. They know they messed with the wrong one. They know they crossed a line they can't uncross. They know they've been playing checkers with someone who's been playing three-dimensional chess since the beginning. And every move they made, every cruel little game they played, you saw it coming from miles away. The panic in their eyes right now, that's not just surprise, that's recognition of consequence. They're scrolling back through every interaction now, aren't they? Every conversation, every moment they thought they had power over you, rewinding and replaying with new context, with the horrifying realization that you were never the fool in this equation, they were. They're remembering all those times you stayed quiet and wondering what you were thinking. They're recalling every boundary they crossed and calculating the cost. They're lying awake at 3 a.m. now, staring at their ceiling, asking themselves the question that's going to haunt them forever. What have I done? Who the hell did I just mess with? And the answer that's keeping them up at night is you. They messed with you. The one person who didn't need to prove anything. The one soul who's been through enough hell to build immunity to their petty games. the one force they should have studied instead of underestimated. Let me tell you what's happening in their world right now. Let me paint you the picture of their current reality. They're nervous. Actually nervous. Not the kind of nervous you get before a test or a presentation, but the deep, primal, existential kind of nervous that comes from realizing you've awakened something you don't understand and definitely can't control. They're watching their backs now, checking their phones obsessively, wondering when the other shoe's going to drop. They're second-guessing every move, every word, every interaction, because suddenly the rules of the game have changed and they're no longer holding the cards. You are, and they know it. They can feel it in the air, in the shift of energy every time you're in the same room. They can sense it in your silence, which no longer reads as submission, but as something far more dangerous: calculation. Here's what they're starting to understand. Here's the truth that's slowly sinking into their thick skulls. You weren't quiet because you had nothing to say. You were quiet because everything you needed to say would have been wasted on people operating at their level. You weren't passive because you couldn't act. You were passive because you were choosing your moment. And that moment, that beautiful, terrifying moment, is approaching fast. They thought they were the predators in this story, didn't they? They thought they were the sharks circling the helpless prey. But what they failed to notice, what their arrogance blinded them to completely, is that you were never swimming with them. You were underneath them the whole time, in deeper waters, in darkness they couldn't reach, growing bigger, growing stronger, growing into something that makes sharks look like goldfish. You want to know the funniest part? The absolute cosmic joke in all of this? They did this to themselves. Every moment they spent tearing you down, they were actually building you up. Every betrayal forged another layer of armor. Every lie taught you to read between lines they didn't even know they were writing. Every time they tried to break your spirit, they were actually tempering it, making it harder, sharper, unbreakable. They thought they were destroying you, but they were creating you. They thought they were winning, but they were training their own replacement. They were so busy celebrating their small victories, so intoxicated by the temporary power they felt, that they completely missed the bigger picture. You weren't their victim. You were their teacher. And the lesson, the lesson they're about to learn, is going to cost them everything they thought they owned. Now we descend into the part that's going to hurt them the most. The realization that's going to eat them alive from the inside out. They can't undo this. They can't apologize their way out. They can't smooth talk, manipulate, or charm their way back into your good graces. Because those graces, those second chances, those opportunities for redemption, they expired. They're gone, deleted, burned to ash and scattered in winds they'll never catch. See, there was a window, wasn't there? There was a time when a genuine apology might have mattered. When acknowledgement of their wrongs might have meant something, when they could have chosen differently, and maybe, just maybe, salvaged some kind of relationship with you. But they didn't take that window. They boarded it up. They painted over it. They pretended it didn't exist, because they were too proud, too convinced of their own superiority, too certain that you would always be there. Always be available, always be the one they could come back to when everyone else abandoned them. Wrong, so catastrophically, irreversibly wrong, because you're not that person anymore. You're not the one who waits by the phone hoping for crumbs of respect. You're not the one who accepts half-hearted explanations and hollow promises. You're not the one who confuses someone's need for you with actual love or loyalty. You evolved past that version of yourself months ago, maybe years ago, and they missed it completely because they were too busy assuming you'd never change, never grow, never become someone who could look them in the eye and feel absolutely nothing. But that's exactly what happened, isn't it? You reached a point where their opinion became irrelevant. Their presence became optional. Their existence in your life became nothing more than a fading memory you occasionally acknowledge with detached curiosity, like looking at old photographs of places you used to live but would never return to. They're starting to feel it now, that absence, that void where your energy used to be. They're noticing how you don't light up when they enter the room anymore. They're seeing how you don't laugh at their jokes, don't engage with their stories, don't give them the attention they've grown addicted to. They're experiencing, probably for the first time in their entitled little lives, what it feels like to be irrelevant to someone they took for granted. And it's killing them. Absolutely eating them alive, because they're used to mattering. They're used to being the center of attention, the main character, the one everyone revolves around. But in your world, in your story, they've been demoted to background noise. They've become extras in a movie they thought they were directing. They've been reduced to footnotes in a chapter you've already closed and moved past. Let's talk about what you've become. Let's acknowledge the transformation they're only now beginning to comprehend. You're not louder. You're not more aggressive. You didn't turn into some rage-guild monster seeking revenge at every turn. No, you became something far more dangerous than that. You became calm, unreachable, untouchable. You developed the kind of peace that comes from complete detachment, the kind of strength that doesn't need to flex or prove itself, the kind of power that operates in silence and strikes with precision. You're the storm that doesn't announce itself. You're the force that moves without warning. You're the consequence they never saw coming because they were too busy creating it. And now that it's here, now that they're standing in the aftermath of their own actions, they have no idea what to do, because nothing in their playbook prepared them for this. They're trying to figure out your next move, aren't they? Analyzing every action, every word, every social media post, looking for clues, searching for patterns, trying to predict what you're going to do with this power you've accumulated. But here's what's driving them absolutely insane. You're not doing anything. At least, not anything they can see or measure or defend against. You're just existing, living your life, moving forward, growing, thriving, and somehow that's more terrifying to them than any active revenge could ever be. Because revenge, they could understand. Revenge, they could prepare for. Revenge would make you predictable again, would bring you back down to their level, would give them something to point at and say, see, they're just as bad as we thought. But you're not giving them that. You're not giving them anything. You're just being you in your full power, and that power is so blinding they can't look directly at it without flinching. The ones who hurt you the most, the ones who betrayed you deepest, they're watching you now with something approaching awe mixed with terror. They see you succeeding. They see you happy. They see you unbothered by the chaos they tried to create in your life. They see you with people who actually value you, in spaces that actually deserve you, living a life they told you that you'd never have without them. And it's destroying the narrative they built about you. It's shattering the lie they told themselves to justify their treatment of you. They needed you to fail. They needed you to crumble. They needed you to prove that their assessment of you was correct, that you were weak, that you couldn't make it without them, but you did. You made it. You're making it. And every day you continue to rise is another day their ego takes a hit it can't recover from. Here's where we go even deeper into the psychological warfare they're experiencing right now. Without you lifting a single finger, they're comparing themselves to you now, constantly, obsessively. They look at their own lives, their own choices, their own trajectories, and they measure them against yours, and they're coming up short. So desperately short, they're stuck in the same patterns, the same toxic cycles, the same shallow existence they were in when they knew you. Meanwhile, you've transcended, you've evolved, you've become a version of yourself they don't recognize, a version that makes their own stagnation painfully obvious. They're watching you from a distance, scrolling through your life like it's a movie they can't stop watching, even though it hurts. And with each scroll, each glimpse into your world, they feel smaller, less significant, more regretful. The regret is setting in now like poison in their veins. It started slow, just a whisper in quiet moments. Maybe I was wrong about them. But now it's grown into a scream they can't silence. I messed up. I lost someone I'll never find again. I destroyed something I'll never rebuild. They're lying awake, replaying conversations, reimagining scenarios, wondering what their life would look like if they had treated you with the respect you deserved from the beginning. They're fantasizing about alternate timelines where they weren't complete fools, where they recognized your value before it was too late, where they earned the right to stand beside you instead of below you. But these are just fantasies, just desperate mental gymnastics, trying to rewrite a history that's already been written in permanent ink. They can imagine all they want, it changes nothing. You're gone from their reach, and that distance is only going to grow. Some of them might try to come back, you know this, right? They'll test the waters, send casual messages, act like nothing happened, pretend the past is the past, and maybe, just maybe, you've forgotten, you've forgiven, you've become soft again. They'll use their old tricks, the manipulation tactics that worked before, the emotional leverage they think they still have. They'll play wounded. They'll play confused. They'll play the victim of circumstances beyond their control. They'll craft these elaborate stories about how they've changed, how they've grown, how they've realized what they lost and they're different now, better now, worthy now. And you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna see right through it. Every word, every gesture, every attempt, because you're not the person they're remembering. You're not the one who fell for pretty words and empty promises. You're the one who learned, who adapted, who built immunity to their specific brand of poison when they realize their attempts aren't working, when they understand that you're truly beyond their influence. That's when the real panic sets in. That's when they start to grasp the full magnitude of what they've lost. They'll try harder, get more desperate, maybe even more aggressive, lashing out because their ego can't handle being dismissed by someone they deemed beneath them. They'll talk about you to others, trying to control the narrative, trying to paint you as the problem, the difficult one, the one who changed for the worse. But here's the beautiful part. Nobody's buying it anymore, because everyone can see your glow. Everyone can witness your growth. Everyone can observe the peace you carry and the strength you embody. And when they compare that reality to the stories being told about you, the lies become obvious. The truth becomes undeniable. You are the evidence that contradicts every false thing they say about you. Let's address the elephant in the room, the question that might be floating in your mind right now. Should I feel bad about this? Should I feel guilty for their suffering, for their regret, for the consequences they're facing? Absolutely not. Not even a little bit. Not for a single second. You didn't create this situation. You didn't force them to treat you poorly. You didn't make them lie, betray, manipulate, or disrespect you. The one just lost you, and it leaves you. Those were their choices, their decisions, their actions that they took freely, repeatedly, without remorse, without hesitation, without consideration for how it would affect you. They authored this story. You're just refusing to be the tragic character they wrote you as. They cast you as the victim, but you rewrote yourself as the one who got away. They wanted you broken, but you chose whole. They needed you dependent, but you became. The script has flipped so completely that they don't even recognize the show anymore. They thought they were the directors, but you've taken the camera, changed the genre, and started filming something they're not even invited to audition for. They're watching from outside the window of a life they could have been part of, pressing their faces against the glass, seeing warmth in light and success and joy, and knowing, absolutely knowing, that they had their chance to be inside. They were invited. They were welcomed. They were given opportunities most people would kill for, and they squandered it. They took it for granted. They assumed it would always be available, like a 24-hour convenience store they could swing by whenever they felt like it. But you closed. You locked the doors. You changed the locks, and no amount of knocking is going to open them again. Now we enter the realm of poetic justice, the part where the universe itself seems to be orchestrating your vindication. Watch what happens to them now. Watch how their lives unfold without your energy in it. See how the people they chose over you, the ones they thought were better, more valuable, more worthy, see how those relationships implode. Notice how the opportunities they celebrated losing you for, those don't quite pan out the way they imagined.